is Lifestyle Magazine with your hosts, Dr. Sharmini Long and Mike Tucker.
I'm Mike Tucker. Lifestyle Magazine is coming to you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada today. And I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Sharmini Long, who grew up in British Columbia, correct?
That's right. Welcome to Canada.
Thank you so much. And our guest today is another Canadian, Mathew Feely, who is also a pastor, and we welcome you to Lifestyle Magazine.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Now, I know that you are with us because you have a history of drug addiction, alcohol addiction. How old were you when you started?
Well, I was dabbling with alcohol at a very young age, probably experimenting a bit from the age of like 11.
11 years of age?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then, as things progressed, eventually I began to experiment with drugs.
What made you first start drinking, I guess, and then progressing into drugs?
Well, I think part of it was just the culture I grew up in. Drinking was accepted within my family, and then also just playing hockey, as a good Canadian.
Yeah, that's right.
I grew up playing hockey, and there's a party culture that's attached with hockey, and I'm sure with other sports as well. So, you're hearing the references, and you're kind of seeing adults around you that you're growing up with drinking, and then sometimes you're at a wedding and someone gives you a glass of wine and
special occasion.
Sometimes you're at some event, some party, and you're able to just, get a leftover bottle of beer, and so that sort of thing.
It's interesting, though, that you said the adults that you're growing up with, you're watching them drink.
Yeah.
And there are studies showing that children who grow up in homes with alcohol are more likely to consume alcohol themselves. You grow up without alcohol, you're not as likely to consume.
Right.
And that was certainly your experience.
Definitely.
So you started off with alcohol. Where did you go after that?
So my siblings, they were teenagers when I was an adolescent and young adults, and they were into the party culture. Mm-hmm. So, I'd be able to sneak some alcohol here and there, and then even friends, they had some alcohol at their homes, break into their parents' liquor cabinet, maybe drink a little bit from a bottle and try and fill it up with some other drink, that sort of thing. And then once we went into high school, it just became more popular, more available, the whole discussion about drugs. Mm-hmm. And I have to say I was raised with the saying, just say no to drugs.
Yeah.
I remember at that time there was a popular commercial, this is your brain on drugs, and it was an egg frying in a frying pan.
That.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
So that sort of awareness was being raised at the time, and I actually never expected to go down that road. But just being in the new environment of high school and just getting a little bit older, being a little more adventurous, curious, I started to see my friends experimenting with marijuana. Mm-hmm. And at first I said, no, I'm not going there. But just as time progressed in my first year of high school, eventually I tried it. I had a group of friends at school. They were kind of light partiers, and then I made some friends in my neighborhood. It was a very bad neighborhood. It was rated recently one of the fourth worst in Toronto. It's like public housing, metro housing, low income families, and that's where I grew up. And that group of friends, they were kind of on another level, and they were engaged in a lot of activity that my high school friends weren't. So both at high school and then at home, I was kind of seeing it, I was feeling that pressure, and then just starting to get curious, I wanted to try it.
So you started then with marijuana. Where did you go after that? What other drugs? What became your drug of choice?
Yeah, so after that, we started trying mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and LSD, so like hallucinogenics.
Yeah.
And, there were some crazy experiences with that. And then in Toronto around that time, I was about 13, 14. There was the rave culture. Toronto had a very popular rave culture. And basically at any age you could attend a rave. A lot of teenagers, adolescents were going. We went to our first rave together in downtown Toronto. And our plan was to do ecstasy.
What's the heaviest drug you did?
So, I mean, it's debatable. I did from ecstasy, I progressed to using crystal meth, and then if I had enough money, I would also use cocaine.
Okay, so those are some pretty heavy duty things. And financing all that?
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't have a job.
Yeah. And I got just a few seconds here. How'd you pay for this stuff?
I was able to kind of tell one lie to one parent, tell the same lie to the next parent, kind of swindle a little bit of money. And then I would also, I would sell and, steal, and got involved in a whole bunch of
variety
things.
of things.
Anything you had to.
Yeah, I was hustling, I was hustling, yeah.
Well, I have to hustle us right now to a break.
Okay.
We'll be back right after this.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. I guarantee you they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
I do not like my sheets. I love my Giza Dream Sheets.
Call or go to MyPillow.com right now to take advantage of Mike's limited time offer. Use the promo code on the screen, and when you buy one set of Giza Dream Sheets, Mike will send you another set absolutely free. That's right, buy one set of Giza Dream Sheets and get another set absolutely free. Choose from a variety of colors in solid, stripes, and new flannel sheets. Order now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
We're back with Mathew Feely. Now, Mathew, there came a point where you began to realize that you were addicted. How old were you when that happened?
I'd say I was about 15.
15, already addicted. Pretty heavy stuff there.
Things just spiraled out of control. I think at first it was like recreational, it was a social thing. And
it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And I mean, I'm in high school. I think a lot of kids go through that. They have to deal with that pressure, and there's all kinds of experimenting. But it went beyond the point of experimentation, where it was part of my daily life. And for several years, I was using daily. Smoking marijuana was, it was like smoking cigarettes, kind of. And then things progressed with the other drugs as well, where the rave culture was something we loved, even the music. I started DJing. I got involved in, the whole atmosphere. But it reached a point where I was actually just going to the parties to pick up drugs and going back to where I lived in the East End of Toronto.
Just to do them there.
So that was my focus. It was all about getting high and that dependency and that escape. And I think that's really what was going on in my life, is that I didn't...
Trying to find that escape.
I was trying to find the escape, and I didn't realize it, but, the drugs had become my best friend because I was really hurting, and they took away that pain.
At what point did you have a wake-up call that things really had to change?
Well, I had, I have to say, my family, as broken as it was, because I think I experienced a lot of brokenness growing up the way I did. My parents had a very toxic relationship, and our home was just not a happy place. So I was escaping that, and which was amazing. Like I always had a place to go, and I'd be away for nights at a time, and hanging out with older guys, and just crazy things. But I started to realize, really, because people started to speak with me, so older siblings, my parents in their own dysfunctional way were trying to talk to me and get me help. My father, he's much older. He was 60 when I was born, which is, that's like the story of Abraham and Sarah, right?
60, yeah. Yes. Well, I'm 65. I don't want a 5-year-old.
There you go. You never know. Miracles do happen.
No, we're not praying for that miracle.
So, and my mom was 20 years younger than him, and, that was a difficult relationship. So by the time I was like 15, my father's 75, and he was still in his own way. He's very old-fashioned, very old school, didn't understand, what I was up to. I got an earring as a young person, and I got two actually, and I got them in the top part of my ear. Yeah. And I did it on the right side on purpose because it was believed that if you have an earring on the right side, means you're homosexual, right? And I didn't believe, you should judge people like that. So I did it on purpose. And that was my father's first question. He's like, what does it mean on the right side? That's what he was concerned about. But he struggled to get to like the core of the issue in my life and the pain I was experiencing. But he still tried, and he took me to a youth crisis center at a hospital, North York General Hospital here in Toronto. And there was the first time like I really poured my heart out to a counselor. And then there was a guidance counselor at school that all the students loved, and she was just very warm and accepting. She would listen to me, pour out my heart, and little by little I started to find people I could talk to, and people took notice, teachers took notice, and I was struggling. School was struggling. I stopped playing hockey. Like I gave up the things I loved. There was a lot of things that were falling by the wayside.
You had some other things happen in your life though too, didn't you? That helped wake you up. Wasn't there a friend or someone who was killed? Yeah.
So actually, I had two things. One thing was that I started dating this really beautiful girl, and she wasn't into that culture. She was from that neighborhood where I grew up, and she knew a lot of the same people, but she wasn't involved in the same things. So this was now a positive relationship in my life. And, I was, crazy about her, and I didn't want to lose that relationship. And so I was starting to behave.
Motivated now.
Yeah,
motivated.
I was very motivated.
Nothing like the power of a beautiful woman to change the behavior of a man. Yeah.
And actually, her mother was told that I was a bad boy and stay away from him. So I wanted to prove that wrong. Yeah. And so I was a good boy, and I was.
But the other thing that happened to you?
The other thing is I started to get back on track with my life, and I was working. And then I started to make plans to go back to the rave scene, despite what my girlfriend wanted, despite what the positive people wanted. And the night I was putting on my shoes to go to the rave, I was waiting for a friend to come and pick me up. My mom got a phone call, and she called me upstairs, and I found out that one of my good friends had been killed in a drunk driving accident.
Drunk driving accident, yeah.
The thing is, he was another one of the positive people in my life. He used to tell me, you need to make a change. You're not like these guys. We grew up together in the same neighborhood, and he was concerned. He was a little older, and he used to ask, how are you doing in school? I remember I told him in grade 10, I'm like, I failed gym class. I thought it was hilarious. He didn't think it was funny. He said, what are you doing? And when he died, and he was in a car, he was the driver with two passengers, he took the brunt of the impact. And that's the type of person he was. He was sacrificial, looking out for people. That was a wake-up call for me. Yeah.
So you've had some things happening in your life that are making a wake-up call. You recognize you're an addict. You've got the positive influence of a young woman, maybe some counselors that are now talking to you, and intervention, and then the death of a good friend. I'm going to stop on that note, and we're going to come back and figure out how you made the turnaround. And we'll do that in just a moment. We'll be right back.
From God, a devotional filled with practical yet inspirational teachings and real-life experiences with real-world application which will encourage the reader. Order your copy today at Amazon.com or motivatedbylove.org.
Scripture Therapy offers solutions to challenges individuals face every day. Scripture Therapy combines faith, psychology, and life experiences to reach those seeking more in their daily walk with God. The authors, Lester and Roxanne Trichet, have blended their skills to produce a powerful book that has the potential of helping people from all kinds of backgrounds and systems of belief. The Trichets are a dynamic duo. It is a must-read for anyone who wants to enhance their spirituality and improve their happiness quotient on day one. Available on Amazon. Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and www.scripturetherapycenter.com.
We're back with Mathew Feely, and we're talking about your life coming to a point, and you're still at a very early age. I mean, we're a teenager when all this is happening. And some things are happening in your life to say, it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
The death of a friend, the positive influence of certain people in your life. So how did that transpire? How did you really come to the point where you said, I'm not going to do this anymore?
So I think there was definitely a turning point that came shortly after my friend's death. I was starting to slip and relapse, and even smoked a bit here and there, went out with some friends and said, you know, I'm not going to party, I'm just going to hang out, and things went differently. And it reminds me of a quote I came across, you know, which says, as human beings, our resolutions are like ropes of sand.
Yeah.
You know, we have that rope, but then we go to climb that rope and we fall down.
apart.
And I was slipping, I was sliding, and I was heading back where I started. But my friend passed away. That was a major shock, to be a pallbearer and to bury him and to see his mom just devastated by the loss of his young life. And then a week later, I was in a church. And yeah, well, again, my girlfriend's mom kind of told me, you have to go. And I went to this service. It was a youth week of prayer. So it was a speaker there speaking to youth about real life issues in the neighborhood where I was, which was not a very good neighborhood. And it was, you know, it was really something. He was a former Calypsonian. So he's from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Big, huge guy with a big robe, and every night he would come marching into the church singing, "Things are getting better." Of course, he had a little accent, so it was more like, "Things are getting better." But the message was that things are going to get better. And his messages were really relevant. He talked about drugs, he talked about sex, and most of all, he talked about Christ and faith in Christ and the power that we can experience in Christ. And that was a turning point, that higher power which I hadn't tapped into.
That's a part of every 12-step program, getting in touch with the higher power. And for you, that higher power was
I knew what I
Jesus.
needed to do. I knew that I was struggling. I just didn't have the power to do what I needed to do. And we all face that challenge in different ways, and I found that strength. And I gave my life to God. I was baptized, and you know, the pastor at the time I know he was kind of looking at me, wondering if he should baptize me. I had my earrings, I had bleach blonde hair. I was not like Eminem, you know, Slim Shady. That's kind of how I looked. That's what I was going for, and I had baggy pants.
I'm sorry, it's hard to picture right now. You're like the clean-cut kid, you know.
Exactly. It was much different. So total transformation, but the transformation came from within. And those things all stuck around for a long time, and then
those things are not important
they're
anyway.
superficial, right? And I was just a kid, but I found a foundation I could build my life upon. And then one day someone said to me, and they came to me and said, you know, Mathew, you need to become a pastor. And I was still DJing, actually, so I said, no, not interested. My pastor sent me an application from a school he was suggesting I attend. And I just threw it in the recycling, and then he sent me another one. People just kept encouraging. Yeah, a lot of encouragement. And I think young people need that. I think they need people that are invested in them, people that can, you know, speak to them, not just lecture them, but show them that they care. And,
well, that's the place I want to go right now. You know, you had some people who are very positive in your life, very powerful. One of which is a young woman and her mother. All right, but the others were not of that ilk, and yet they had a powerful influence on you. So if one of our viewers right now is wondering, how can I speak to my grandson, to my son, or to the kid next door, what would you suggest?
I think you have to be real. I think young people need to know that you care. And, you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And I think it's all about relationship. So even like I think of my siblings and my parents, my father, who was this really hard-nosed, old school guy. My mother was maybe too loose and let us do whatever we wanted. At the end of the day, with any of them, I knew that I was loved and accepted. So I received that bits and pieces along the way. I think now in my ministry as a pastor, I always want young people to know that I'm there for them. And I think when they feel comfortable, they'll open up more. When there's trust, when there's empathy and sympathy and concern, I think you're able to establish that safe environment where people can be 100% transparent with you.
Unconditional love.
Yeah, and I've had young people come to me and share with me about their addictions. You know, I've had people come to me and share with me about their pornography addiction, their drug addiction. One church I pastored, I was there for a few months, and 3 or 4 individuals just surfaced and approached me to talk with me about how they were struggling with thoughts of suicide. And I think that I've tried to just be real, be authentic, and just let people know that I'm not interested in judging them, but to help them succeed.
So an attitude of non-judgmental coming alongside is really what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
That's good.
What are some signs that parents should watch for that may be an indication that their kids are getting into trouble?
Yeah, I think you're gonna notice just a change in behaviors, maybe some withdrawing, some isolation, maybe less time being spent at home. You know, I think it's just a matter of knowing your child well, and I think parents have like a sixth sense, you know, and I think they're going to pick up on things if you have that relationship from day one. But definitely you'll see things are affected in life. For me, I grew up, and I was at grade 4, I was told I was a gifted child, and I was put in this special program, and I had a high intelligence and these things, but I never achieved that. I was always kind of lackadaisical when it came to school, but then it really dropped off in high school. School took a hit. Sports, my passion, which is even a passion today, a great way to build relationship is sports. I lost interest. I used to play golf, I used to play hockey, I used to play baseball, stopped playing everything. So when you see that change in a person, how they spend their time, even how they treat you and react with you, because I started to get maybe push the limits with my parents.
I know I used to teach school, and we looked for attitudinal changes, falling asleep during class, schoolwork falling off, those kinds of things, withdrawing from things they used to enjoy, and that's exactly what you're talking about here, being aware of where your children are. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
The Faith Unveiled Network was birthed out of a need to give exposure to unknown or hidden people that possess God's gifts and talents. There are preachers, teachers, musicians, clothing designers, artists, cooks, and many others that God has given extraordinary talents to. God is raising up these people in His kingdom that will glorify Him. Our goal is to bring these talents to your mobile devices, computers in your home and office, or on the go. With today's technology, these gifts and talents can be shared with you 24/7. Broadcasters that will bless your heart and your life. Currently, the Faith Unveiled Network shares these talents in the form of video and podcasting services. As the network grows, it will strive to move into other medias such as cable TV, satellite TV, and local TV. The goal is to enhance the experience of the network's TV shows through networking resources and communication activities that become available. The ultimate goal of the network is to build and bring unity to the kingdom of God through its broadcasters via the internet, social media, mobile apps, and other available resources. By facilitating the use of the gifts of the Spirit, according to 1 Corinthians 12:4-11, on a global level, each broadcaster brings their own gifts and treasured talents. Enjoy each moment, each broadcaster's TV show, and let them and us hear from you. We'd love to know that you're watching their programs and being blessed by their God-given gifts. Thank you for watching FUN, the Faith Unveiled Network. Thank you for watching FUN, the Faith Unveiled Network.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. I guarantee you they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
I do not like my sheets. I love my Giza Dream sheets.
Call or go to mypillow.com right now to take advantage of Mike's limited time offer. Use the promo code on the screen, and when you buy one set of Giza Dream Sheets, Mike will send you another set absolutely free. That's right, buy one set of Giza Dream Sheets and get another set absolutely free. Choose from a variety of colors in solid, stripes, and new flannel sheets. Order now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
We have had a fascinating conversation with Pastor Mathew Feely today. Mathew, I know that this is something you've got a passion for. This is something that speaks to your heart because of your own story, having gone through this pit and being pulled out. And I have a feeling that there's someone watching us today who may be where you were at one point. Yeah. What would you like to say to that person? Just look at the camera and talk to them right now.
Well, I want to let our viewers know that it's not over until God says that it's over. And if you're alive today, if you're breathing, if you're listening, it's because God's not finished with you. And sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we can look up. But the worst thing you could ever do is give up. And when I went through my drug addiction, there was depression, there was discouragement, there was a lack of self-esteem and self-worth. And that's a terrible feeling. But if you give up, you don't give yourself a chance. And I want you to know that I'm living proof that things can change and your life can change. And I'm not what I should be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be. And I'm still a work in progress. And there's strength available. Philippians 4 and verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And another favorite passage that I have is 2 Corinthians 12 and verse 9, where God says that his strength is made perfect in weakness. And actually, if you're feeling broken and weak, you're in a very good place because you can get help. And there's help in counselors, pastors, friends, family. There's hotlines you can call, and you can put your faith in God, and God will do for you what you can't do for yourself.
Thank you, Mathew. Thank you so much. And thank you for being a part of this one as well. We look forward to seeing you again next time. But until then, you take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
To get a copy of today's offer, please call 888-940-0062. You may write us at Lifestyle Magazine, P.O. Box 7729, Riverside, California, 92513. And be sure to visit our website at lifestyle.org.